Hi friends, welcome back to my studio. I'm Katie and today I'm going to talk about the pens that entered my collection here in 2023. At the beginning of the year, I decided to do a low spend, which, how successful it was depends on what the metrics are. I personally feel good about how it went, although as I have things laid out here, I feel good about how it went, but that's based on the metrics. So I've done a whole video about how to think about a low spend and how to think about what things count against you in terms of like what the parameters are and how that affects like what counts and what doesn't. So some of this is like how you draw the lines. So for me, the goal was to buy 5 pens, and it was motivated by the desire to reduce the like want monster feeling of like just buying things impulsively or to make myself feel better or whatever. I also wanted to keep my collection small-ish, relatively, such that when I ink about 8 pens a month, that is a large portion of my collection. And I also, would like to reduce spending, but that wasn't the major goal. So not all of these are fountain pens. I figured I would also talk about some of the other things that I brought in during my low spend, but also some of them weren't purchases. They were gifts, and so how that counts in relation to my low buy is dependent on kind of how you've drawn the parameters. And so I feel good about it, but if you think, wow, Katie, that's way more than 5 pens, yeah, kind of. We'll talk about it. The first thing I guess maybe to say is that I did sell 3 pens. This year I sold a Vanishing Point in gunmetal. I sold a Narwhal Nautilus in ebonite, and I sold a custom, like a hand-turned pen from Heinz Pen, like the purple ribbon demonstrator. So in some ways, that was actually a significant percentage of my collection that has essentially turned over. And I'm thankful for those pens and what they were in my collection, but I have not missed any of them. So 3 of them were out. Let's start at the beginning of the year. So the first pen I bought in 2023 was this F3 Pens Pastel Primary Manipulation Pen. And this is a resin I fell in love with once it was already discontinued. And so it became kind of a white whale for me in the sense that like I wanted one, I wanted just the right one, and they were hard to come by. This one I think is really beautiful. It's not the most pastel-y of the pastel primary manipulations. It's kind of jewel toned, which is like so me. I love the color distribution on it. I think it's really beautiful. This one came from F3 Pens, and it started off my 2023 acquisitions on a very high note, because this is a resin I love, that I wanted to own, but that I was like, A, had trouble getting, and B, really wanted to make sure I got the right one, because these swirly pens are really hard, and I have a personal commitment not to buy any swirly pens that I am not seeing in person. Most of these are Yovo number 6 kind of generic nibs, so that's part of why I'm not talking about them. A lot of this is going to be pen body talk. The second pen that came into my collection this year is the Estie with in sea glass with the gold trim. I don't think I currently have a nib in here. I just kind of, it's another Yovo number 6 I kind of swap them in and out. This was something that Karina and I won together in an Instagram giveaway that Esterbrook was doing. So I picked the sea glass color. She picked the Nouveau Blue, I believe. Nouveau Blue. And I really like this pen. I've been really glad to have it, A, because it's very comfortable, it's really pretty, but also because so many of my friends use this as a benchmark. And so it's nice to have one too, so that I also have that benchmark. In general, I like the Esties a lot, but I'm not as like gung-ho sold on them as some of my friends are. Not because I think there's anything wrong with them, I just don't think that there's like anything that really makes them, in my mind, a whole lot different than the custom turned pens. That will depend on what your priorities are. I know Simona loves them because they've got the cushion cap on the inside, and she's, you know, living in a really dry environment, and so that makes these pens better than just your like regular turned pens. But for me, it doesn't matter. I like it just as much, but not more, really, than my other resin pens. But hey, it's beautiful. It was free. I'm not complaining. The next one I got is this Urushi Rodin pen that I commissioned from a Japanese maker on Instagram. It took, I think, 6 months or something to make, and they can take more. You know, it just depends on like the weather conditions and whatever in Japan at the time. I love it. It's beautiful. I love the, you know, shell in it. This is a Jinhao X850, so it also takes a number 6 nib, so I just swapped something else in it. The like details on it aren't perfect. The spots around the trim are not as immaculate as they could be, but I did not pay an immaculate price for it, so I am unperturbed. I think it's really pretty. And then during the 6 months that this was in process, the maker listed something that he had just, you know, made, not commissioned, which is this nib holder. And I had been on the fence about getting the black or the red when I commissioned this pen. So when I saw this in the red, it was a slam dunk, and I just had him add it to my order. So when this was ready, he shipped this one as well. And I really love this. And it didn't count against my pen numbers because it's not a pen. The thing was specifically about fountain pens, and even actually for me it was fountain pens over $100. So that was a beautiful addition to my collection. I needed something for the Kakamori nib. Obviously I was using just a cheap nib holder, but I'm really glad to have this one. I did go on a Jinhao 82 binge. These are the little Sailor Pro Gear Slim dupes. Something like 15 of them came through my house, and then I like mixed and matched the finials and stuff, and then I sold most of them off. I think I kept something like 4. I'm not counting these against me because they were really cheap. They're something like $3 when you buy them from AliExpress. And they fulfill a different part of my collection. So, you know, if my goal is to not have too many things I want to have inked because it's like overwhelming, these are something different. These go with me in my passport planner. They fit really nicely here. And it's nice not to worry about them. They're just usually inked with something basic. I really like the Fude nib on it. And I put pigment inks in them. It's nice to be able to just clean them out. So I consider this a different part of the category. You're welcome to feel differently, but you know, that's how I feel, and it's my collection. The next one was a bit of an impulse buy, although it was on my list. This is a vintage Waterman's pen with a flexi nib. and I know I'm gonna get asked for writing samples. It's not currently inked, but we can dip it real quick. So I'm gonna dip it in Rar & Klinger Alt Gold Grün. I was just like on the prowl long term, hoping that like a vintage full flex nib came my way. I have a vintage semi flex that I love. It's a wall 10 point. This was just like a lying in wait. It's not like the prettiest pen of all time. It's a little scuffed up. It's black. But I bought it for the nib. So this is the Waterman. And it's just a delight to write with. It's super responsive, but also it's not like so soft that I find it hard to control or anything. It's truly a delight, and I'm very glad to have it as a part of my collection. I don't have it inked all the time because I tend to use it more for accents than like to have something like constantly inked. So I actually have been kind of dipping it more than filling it, because I don't love lever fillers, and also because I'm not using that much ink at a time. You may wonder why I got a fountain pen instead of a dip pen, and the feed in it still lets me write for a good amount of time compared to a dip pen. So I really like that, and obviously I can and have filled it if I want to. I think actually before that pen I had bought, so this pen I already had, this was a 2022 acquisition. The 2023 aspect of it is this nib. There's a person on Reddit who retro fits vintage nibs into Yovo housings. And so this is a Waterman 100-year semi-flex nib. I think this pen is dry. Nope. So this is the 100-year. And it's not flexy in the way that this one here is, but it's got beautiful bounce, and it's just like a joy to write with. It's expressive and responsive, and I really like it. Nibs were not against my low buy. I hadn't really envisioned nibs quite that expensive when I excluded it from my no buy, but it doesn't take up a lot of space in my collection, and if like that is one of the things I am trying to mitigate, this is not counter to that. Next up was this spring pen. So when we got to like May, I had just this overwhelming desire for a pen in my collection that really celebrated like the sun and the spring feeling. I live in Michigan, and it is so gray so much of the time that when the sun finally breaks out in like May, it feels like such a revelation. And it feels so good, and I just wanted kind of a pen to celebrate that with and to embody that. So this is from Jason Neal Penworks. Jason was an absolute delight. We designed this resin together, and that was so much fun to like help him pick out the powders and to cast it, and then he turned it up, and it came out really beautifully. There's just the right amount of this teal in there. I really love that. That's another one, number 6 Yovo pen, and it's just really a delight. I think this pen is going to go into hibernation for a few months because it doesn't really feel like this time of year, and I have other pens like my Benu Euphoria, which is from 2022, that like really capture that wintry spirit more than this pen, but I love it, and I was so excited to like celebrate with it in the sunny times of year. All right, I did a video on this one. This is the Sailor Pro Gear Slim with the 21 karat nib in the like spring rain color. This is a pen that had been on and off my want list for like a year. When I first started fountain pens, I fell in love with this pen, and then I started to think that it was going to be too small based on the other things I liked, and I thought it was too expensive because it had the 21 karat nib compared to the other Pro Gear Slims, and I talked myself out of it. And then I bought the Jinhaos, and it turned out that I don't mind the size as much as I thought I did, but I still thought it was too expensive. And then someone was selling it used at a really good price, and I pounced. I figured if I didn't like it, I would just sell it on, but that it was always going to be like a pen that haunted me and always like made me wonder if I should have gotten it. And so I figured I should just get it and find out, and if it was the wrong pen for me, I could sell it confident in the knowledge that like I knew, and it would stop haunting me. But I actually really like it. It is a little narrow, but I don't write for long sessions, and that doesn't bother me. Something about this nib, I don't know if the tines are slightly splayed. I don't think so. This nib writes amazingly with shimmer ink. This one in particular, I don't know why. I don't know if it's like not set as properly as it should be or what, but in general, I tend to have kind of fine, dry nibs, and so it's actually so much fun to have something that works so well with shimmer, but it's still like easy to clean and whatever. So this has stayed in my collection. We'll see if it stays long term or not, but so far I haven't been compelled to sell it yet. After I bought this one, though, I heard from a kind viewer on my YouTube that Endless Pens was doing a ridiculous sale on this Pro Gear, full-size Pro Gear. And this is actually a color I had long admired. This is the Christmas Tea. So the fact I didn't merely buy it because it was on discount, although I wouldn't have bought it if it hadn't been. But this is a color I legitimately really like, and I do really like the bigger nib and the bigger pen. So I don't intend to buy any more Pro Gear Slims, but I also don't really intend to buy any full price Pro Gears because they are so expensive. And I'm happy with this one. Maybe used or again deeply discounted or whatever, but I kind of feel like my Sailor collection is pretty much complete for now. The only exception is that I kind of want to swap a Sailor nib into a different pen using a flexible nib factory thing. We can talk about that. So it's possible I will buy another discounted one in like an ugly color or something and yank the nib out of it. But it's a delight. It's so pleasant to write with. I love the Sailor nib and the feedback, and yeah, really, really happy with that one. I went to the pen show in Detroit this fall. I didn't buy any pens. I was very proud of myself. I had my eye on a custom thing I knew I wanted to get, and I knew if I bought anything there that that would detract from it. Not detract, it would be taking money away, budget away. But I did have one thing on my list, and I did get it, which is this Parker Vacuumatic style mechanical pencil. So this is stacked celluloid, and it is just gorgeous. But the fountain pens that were released as part of this are not the right pen for me. The Vacuumatic is just not like a filling mechanism I'm looking to get into or to try and clean. I'm a cartridge converter girl through and through. And so that wasn't the right pen for me. But I love the stacked celluloid, and they did release mechanical pencils back then. This one has a 0.9 millimeter lead, and the other thing is that these pencils are so inexpensive compared to the pens. And I do use pencil quite a lot. So I figured I had thoroughly upgraded my pen experience here. And so there was room to upgrade a different experience in my life. And mechanical pencils felt like a natural solution to my desire to get the celluloid, and I am really, really pleased with it. Next is another gifted pen. So a dear friend gifted this to me. This is the Narwhal Tromso, Voyage Tromso. And it is beautiful. It is my only piston filler at the moment. I had sold my other Narwhal. This one is so much lighter than the Ebonite one, if you're curious. But it's really beautiful. I have it inked with like just like a go-to kind of color, because like a grayish purple, because that's like the only thing I could really imagine wanting that much ink in there. It's probably still not even full, but that seemed like a natural go-between for the filling mechanism and how much I use ink. Although Karina was talking today about how well these work with shimmer inks. So we'll see. I might have to try that, but it's really beautiful. It is a little prone to trying to like cross thread or something. I gotta be careful, but it's not a big deal. And it's really, really pretty. Yeah. Next is my fountain day purchase, which is not a fountain pen. I did do a video on this on my channel when I unboxed it. This is the Lamy 2000 Multipen 4-in-1 with the rattling. We talked about that extensively. So this is a ballpoint pen. I've swapped out the inserts to refills, to a gel insert and a uniball jet stream. So it's much more pleasant right now. This goes with my passport planner, or has been. It's been a really enjoyable experience. I love touching it. But the Lamy 2000 fountain pen wasn't for me, and this was a great way to upgrade my gel pen experience, to get a piece of the Lamy 2000 collection, and it didn't count as a fountain pen, so I didn't count it against my low buy. The last one is a pen I'm so excited about. I only opened it like 2 days ago, so it definitely has the blush of being newest, but I am beyond thrilled with it. And that is this pen. I filmed portions of an unboxing of this for the channel, but it was so disjointed because I was so like, I don't know, in my head about it. In a good way. Like, so thrilled, but like it didn't have the structure of a YouTube video. So here it is. This is from Silverburl Pens. This is a custom make. So back in like maybe September, Karina and I had both fallen in love with this resin, and also fallen in love with John of Silverburl's detail style. So he, you know, engraves these silver clips and adds the thing. She and I both have kind of come to the end of our interest in just like straight resin pens. Like I really love this pen, but I do find myself now wanting things that look a little more finished and a little more detailed. And John's work is just gorgeous on that front. So we collectively messaged him and asked him if he was interested in working with us and with sourcing this blank. So these blanks are from someone else in the UK. It's called Quartz Strata, and he was familiar with the maker and happy to get them for us and to turn them into pens for us. So Karina got hers done a little sooner. I was using it as a carrot to prevent myself from buying things on Fountain Pen Day and on Black Friday and stuff, because I wanted this pen more. And so I was just like trying to stay on the straight and narrow and get this pen instead of something that was on sale, but I didn't want as much. So I waited until late November to give him the go-ahead and do it. I got mine as a nonagon model. You can see the facets there. So it's got 9 facets, and then here you can see it, at this intersection here, it goes down to circular. So it's got 9 facets up here, and then it goes down to circular. It's got this beautiful metal work. I got a pretty big pen. I forgot what the cap threads here were, but I went for like one of the bigger ones, maybe like 14 millimeters. I think it was 13 or 14, and I think I went for 14. So it's a big pen. It honestly, it's like a Bennu Euphoria, but like girthier. So you can see that here. It's so nice to do faceted pens. They don't roll. So you can see how much wider the grip section is, which I find really nice, but then otherwise it's actually very similar in size. And I really love that. I've been writing with it as much as I possibly can for the last couple days, and I find it really comfortable in my hand. The facets are not sharp or anything, but if you're sensitive to the Euphoria like Karina is, you won't like these either, but I don't find they bother me at all, and I think they add just like such a beautiful detail. I wanted this pen to look like it had been like carved out of marble, and I feel like we really nailed that here with this pen. And then the clip kind of adds to that like swaying kind of feeling. I think you can tell, over the moon with this pen. I have noticed that it's hard to get the color right on camera, that it like leaches a little bit of the pink. It's got like this pink undertone to the brown, and it's really at this intersection of like a really desaturated pink and brown. I will try to insert a photo here that I think like demonstrates that nicely, but it's an absolutely beautiful color. It's so neutral that it's going to be easy to ink with whatever I want at any time of year that I want. Obviously I can do that with any pen, but I find it easier with some pens than with others. But like this pen really nails for me what it's like to be so gorgeous and so like it's not plain at all, but it's not making any like demands of me in terms of what it goes with. So I think it's going to be an extremely versatile pen for me, and I really love it, which is good because it is to date my most expensive pen, and it was a little bit of a tough pill to swallow, but I didn't want to compromise my like design intuition. I really wanted the facets. I know they're more labor intensive, and then obviously the silver is as well, but I have no regrets now that I have it in my hands. It's just really stunning. So if we feel like being persnickety, my goal was to buy 5 pens, and I have pulled out here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, that one's a pencil. 9, 10, 11, 12. So depending on how you count, I dramatically missed the mark there. But actually not the way that I count. So this one is an old pen. This one didn't hit the $100 limit. This one's not a pen. These ones aren't fountain pens. These two were gifted. And so if we look at that, that's 4, 6, 7 pens, and then I sold 3. So I actually am coming out of this year feeling really, really good about what I learned about myself, how to become more discerning about what I like, how to not buy things that I am just attracted to in the moment because I am, anxious or leaning into FOMO. A lot of these pens were really thoroughly considered, and I feel really good about that and really proud of the collection I've got. So, the only pens that really are worth talking about this makes up a lot of my collection now. The only pens really that we haven't talked about that are from 2022, we've talked about the Benu. I've got the Vanishing Point in the blue Carbonesque, which is gorgeous. And then the rest of what I've got are kind of cheap beginner pens. This is the Cheap Sailor, the Prera, the Diplomat Magnum, the Preppy, or the Profonti. So I definitely upgraded my collection this year, but I also, swapped some of the things out. Anyway, I'm not trying to justify myself to you. It might sound that way, but I feel really good. So I hope you feel as good about your collection this year as I feel about mine. Thanks for hanging out with me and for going on this 2023 fountain pen journey. My goals for 2024 I think are about the same. Maybe more a goal of getting something like 3 pens instead of 5, but I'm not. Somewhere in the 3 to 5 range feels comfortable for me. If it's fewer, I would be very happy because I love my collection and the size that it is and the things that I have, but new things are always being released. And I do like new things. Let me know which of these pens is your favorite, and what are your fountain pen collection goals for 2024. I'll be thrilled to talk to you about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you'd like to hear more from me, there's a subscribe button, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, friends.